As we told you at the beginning of this segment, there were two congressmen who were more or less forced into early retirement after the 2000 reapportionment. We just spoke with one of those, Republican Ben Gilman. And now my next guest was the victim of a similar fate. John LaFalce is a Democrat, and he is also a former congressman. He's from the Buffalo area, and he's joining us from the Buffalo station. Thanks very much for your time tonight.
Oh, great to be with you, Liz.
So as I mentioned, we just spoke to Ben Gilman, and he said that he feels very badly for whoever the two members are that are going to have to lose their seats the way that he did and that you did in 2002. It actually was the next election cycle when the new lines were taking effect. But he also said that you weren't the guy who was supposed to lose. Is that true?
Well, I don't know if it's true or not. All I know is that I had the option of running against Jack Quinn or Tom Reynolds or Louise Slaughter. The most likely race for me would have been against Louise Slaughter. I think the odds would have favored me if you looked at the number of Democrats turning out. But I made the judgment that after 28 years in the Congress, I just did not want to run again. I did not want to run in that district. I did not want a family fight. I did not want to have to raise the money that was necessary. I didn't like the contours of the district because in order to represent it the way I like to represent a district, it would have consumed me. And so I made the decision to retire.
We should actually, for folks who are not living in the Western New York area, the two people that you mentioned, which was Jack Quinn, that's actually the father of an assemblyman. He's a Republican, Jack Quinn, who ran for Senate this year and was not successful. And then the other person you mentioned was Tom Reynolds. He's also a Republican, former congressman, now no longer in the House. You know, it's interesting, though, the way that these lines get redrawn, forcing Democrat against Democrat or Republican against Republican. Were you angry at the time about the way that it went down?
Oh, no, I wasn't angry. I'd been through so many redistrictings, 71, 81, 91, and then 2002, and I realized that it could fall the way you'd like it to fall, or it could fall, you know, in the way you wouldn't like it to fall. You can slice the salami a million different ways. There are almost an innumerable number of permutations. It comes down to who controls the governor's office and the legislature. In 1971, it was easy because the Republicans had control of all three. There was Rockefeller, there was Earl Bridges in the Senate, there was Perry Duryea as Speaker of the Assembly,
right.
And so the Democrats had no input whatsoever. In the other years, you had a division of power, and so they decided, well, let the Democrats draw the assembly lines any way they want. Let the Republican Senate draw the Senate lines any way they want, and we'll come to a compromise with respect to Congress. But the difficulty is it all involves the preservation of incumbents rather than trying to draw districts that made good sense, that were in the public interest.
Okay, so
and I suspect that's what will happen again this year.
You do? Okay, let's talk about that, though, because I'm sure, as I'm sure you're aware, the former mayor of New York City, Ed Koch, went barnstorming around the state this year, and he had this pledge, and he held it up, and he said, this pledge, I promise, if I sign this pledge, that I'm going to support nonpartisan redistricting reform, that I'm going to that I'm going to support the idea of taking this power of redrawing the lines out of the hands of the state lawmakers and giving it to some independent, nonpartisan entity. Do you, and a lot of people signed it, and a lot of people expressed, 3 out of the 4 legislative leaders, the governor expressed support for it. You don't believe it's possible to take the politics out of this?
Oh, I think it'd be great if it happened, but I'll believe it when I see it. Further, creating a commission does not necessarily take it out of partisan politics. The issue will be, well, who appoints the members of the commission? And so if you're going to have Skelos making a certain number of appointees and Silver making a certain number of appointees, chances are they're going to appoint individuals who, for the most part, will do their bidding. Now, if you create a truly independent commission, you'd have to say, well, we'll take the president of the New York State League of Women Voters, individuals of that nature. I doubt that that will happen. I don't think the legislature will want to give up the power that the Constitution of New York State gives them.
But it would be be more fair, would it not? It would create more competitive.
Well, you know,
the
maybe it depends upon the commission. Certainly, the legislature has the power to draw fair lines if they had the disposition to do that. Now, I don't know that they have the disposition to do that. I think their disposition to retain incumbents and to retain the power that they have in the Assembly and in the Senate is probably going to prevail over their desire to draw the best lines with respect to public interest.
Well, and then you also create a whole different sort of a problem, which is you have a commission, but then what are you going to do to prevent people from lobbying it? I mean, your colleagues, some of them hired some pretty high-priced lobbyists. Someone actually, one individual, I think it was Emil Houghton, created a PAC just specifically to raise money so he could lobby to preserve his district or preserve his own seat. I mean, you would have a lobbying bonanza of some kind of entity, regardless of what it was.
Well, a number of members 10 years or so ago did retain lobbyists. I can think of 2 or 3 individuals offhand. I don't know how effective they were or were not. So much depends upon the personal relationships of the members of Congress with the members of the state delegation, and most especially with the leadership. Surely when I left the state legislature, my contacts with the leadership of the Senate and the Assembly were far greater than my relationships with those leaders when I retired from Congress, because I had been away from the state legislature for 28 years.
You know, now we are seeing again the possibility that upstate will be losing 2 seats. We're going to definitely lose 2 seats. The likelihood, of course, is that the population drain is coming out of upstate. The population gain, there's been a gain on Long Island. So it's possible that Louise Slaughter's district is now also being talked about. So it's sort of ironic, is it not?
Well, there are an infinite number of possibilities. There's no question about it. And I think it is probable that at least 1 and perhaps 2 seats will come from upstate New York. The number of people in a congressional district in New York State must approximate 720,000. That's a considerable increase from what it presently is. And so if everybody has to have greater numbers, you know, some district or districts will have to go. And you mentioned Louise Slaughter's. That's one possibility. But you could also take Brian Higgins. You could take the district around Albany. I'm just looking at Democrats right now. There are any number of Republican seats that could go too. The new freshman who replaced, not Emil Houghton, but his name escapes me right now. Eric Massa,
yeah, sure,
I believe.
Sure.
Yeah, his
Tom
district
Reed,
could be.
You're talking about Tom Reed.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that district. If you go north-south, you could easily cut that district up. You could easily cut up Chris Lee's district. Any district could be cut up, and so no district is really safe. And it remains to be seen. I do think that given the strange contours of the district that Louise Slaughter now represents, that might be most ripe for the picking. But I could see a scenario where that would benefit both Brian Higgins and benefit Louise Slaughter. You know, if the districts have to be about 720,000 and you retain the entirety of Rochester and Monroe County, that's just about 1 congressional district, and I don't know of any Republican who would be able to defeat Louise Slaughter if she chooses to run for re-election, if the district is basically Monroe County.
Well, one thing that we do know is that there are a bunch of constituents in New York who are going to see that their representation is going to change, probably. In the meantime, I want to thank you very much, yeah. Congressman. We're unfortunately out of time. Congressman John LaFalce. It's really good to see you. Thanks so much.
It's been a pleasure, Liz.